Pull-ups are commonly thought of as a lat exercise. And while they do engage the lats and you do work the lats, they do much more than that when you go through the full range of motion. A properly performed pull-up is going to start in the dead hang position. You're going to come up over the bar and return to the dead hang position. What happens is most people keep tension throughout the shoulder girdle, and when they come down, they don't come to a full dead hang. And what happens is there's about 1.5 inches or so of scapular engagement that's not happening, or scapular movement rather, that's not happening. So when you do pull-ups through the full range of motion, it becomes not just a lat exercise, but now an exercise that trains all the musculature in the upper back. If you look at rock climbers, they generally have amazing upper back musculature, and that's from all the pulling, all the pull-ups, and all the full extension, the reaching they have to do. So it's really critical that we learn to do pull-ups the right way, and not shortchanging the range of motion and not doing full exercises or full movements. So where we're going to start is going to be active hangs. An active hang, just as its name implies, you're going to be hanging from your bar or whatever it is you're performing pull-ups on. In this case, I'm going to be using a 2x6. You're going to be hanging from your surface, and rather than being in a passive hang, which means letting the musculature hang loose, what you're going to do is be doing an active hang, which is where you're engaging those scapula. This type of scapular movement is not something that we do on a day-to-day basis, so it's going to feel awkward, and it's something you're going to have to practice and learn. So we're going to start with a active hang, which I'll demonstrate, and I'm going to start the movement in a passive hang and then take that to an active hang so you can see the exact difference. In the passive hang, you're going to notice my shoulders are going to be up near my ears, so my arms are going to be up, but I'm going to be hanging, elongating the body without tension through the shoulders, and that's going to put the shoulders up next to the ears. Once I take that to an active hang, I'm engaging the scapula, I'm pulling myself up maybe 1.5 inches or so, but I'm not doing it with my arms. My arms are staying as straight as possible. It's going to feel awkward at first. When you pull, you're likely going to have bend at the elbows, and that's okay. You're just going to work to eliminate that and make sure that it's just the scapula that's basically pulling you, just the musculature around the scapula, the lats are pulling you up about that 1.5 inches. So I'm going to show you a passive hang where you would just grab your surface, let gravity elongate the body, and you can see my shoulders here next to my ears. So this is going to be a passive hang. It's a stretch. In an active hang, you're going to scapular engagement, pull yourself up. That's going to put tension in the triceps. You're going to feel tension throughout the upper body. Everything's going to become engaged. You're going to have tension basically from the hands running all the way down through the shoulder girdle. And so now you should be able to see what I'm talking about with that. When I grab the bar and when I pull, pay attention to the difference in tricep and shoulder. So you've got your passive hang, gravity just elongating everything. Then you've got your active hang, tension, right? Tension through the arms, pulling back with the scapula. Notice the arms do not bend. Back down to a passive hang, back into a active hang. In the active hang, your feet are going to come forward a little bit. If you don't have the ground clearance, you may have to bend your legs. People using like a doorway pull-up bar. But ideally, you've got enough clearance so that your feet can come forward a little bit. There's going to be a slight arch in the back. Again, passive to active. So I know it's a slight difference. It's not a lot of movement. So I demonstrated a few times so you can really see. And when you get up there and do this, it's 1 inch to 1.5 inches, like I mentioned, that the scapula are moving. Your body's not going very far. It's very subtle. But what I want you to do is start with an active hang. So shoulders to your ears is how you can tell. And then pull your ears up above. Then I just want you to hang there. When you can get an active hang for 15 seconds, then what you want to do is scapular pulls, kind of like a, well, not kind of like, it's the beginning of a properly performed pull-up. So in order to get into the active hang, you had to engage the scapula and pull yourself up a little bit. Now you're going to turn that into reps, like you saw me do a minute ago, and I'll demonstrate it one more time. So I want you to be able to do 5 reps of those scapular pulls. So first, you're gonna have the active hang, engaging the scapula. After you've got an active hang for 15 seconds, then I want you to work on doing sets of 5 of that scapular pull. So that scapular pull is gonna be the bottom of your pull-up. When we get to performing full pull-ups, you're going to start your movement with the scapular pull. You're not going to do what most people do and start your pull-up at the elbow or with the arms. Most people do this, okay? Notice it's arm movement, okay? This is not my scapula engaging, and this is not my scapula pulling me out of the hole. And this is where people run into problems with tendonitis and their arms hurting. So I want you to begin the pull-up with the scapular motion, then arms come in, okay? Then extend back to a dead hang. So I just did a full rep to show you the difference, illustrate the difference between beginning the pull-up with that scapular engagement and pulling yourself out of the dead hang without your arms, then the arms come into the movement. That's going to give you the maximum stimulation of the musculature in the back and make your pull-ups an effective exercise to not just target, the lats or a small percentage of the muscles you could be targeting, but to make it as functional as possible and to target as much of the musculature as possible.